Greetings, beloveds. I greet you in the love light of the one infinite creator. So in today's educational video, let's begin here, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions based on 3 charts, and I'll explain to you the concept. So we can see here, this is Disney. Does this chart mean anything to you with the current setup? Is there anything sticking out to you? All right, take a look at American Airlines here, and these are the daily charts. Anything on this chart that is speaking to you? Let's take a look at one more, and I'll explain to you why there's something on this chart that is of importance. And the other one is ZDGE. Anything on this chart that is speaking to you in terms of what it could be looking to do? So I don't know what answers you have, but let me whet your appetite by taking a look at this stock, DWAC. The stock for 2024, and we're in the 3rd or 4th week of this year, has exploded up more than 240%. So a huge move. And the setup that I'm discussing here can be seen right here, and I'll discuss it here in a second. All of this setup here is what we saw with the previous charts, and so the entry here was of interest. Now, of course, there's no way of knowing that it's going to move from, let's call it here, 18 all the way to 58 in a couple of days. You can't tell that, but what you can tell is that there was potential. So taking this trade could have been a possibility, and in fact, based on this concept and another concept, which you can also find on my YouTube channel for free, was one of the reasons why in December, late December, you can see December 26th there, I sent out an alert for paid clients. And by the way, if you're interested, this is something I've done for clients for 20 years, finding them breakout. So you can see the stock is highlighted here. The breakout level was at 18.15. The stock was trading at 17.82. Now you're going to find more information about this on my YouTube channel, again for free. The first time I started recording this for the public goes all the way back to August of 2013. So more than 10 years ago is when I came up officially for the public to see with this concept. Of course, I had been researching it for years. So this method here is one that has worked and continues to work 10 years plus since I quote unquote discovered it. And now I'm sharing it with you. So you can see Disney here. What we are looking for here is a flat moving average. In this case, it is the flat 200-day moving average. Let me remove that. So you can see the 200-day moving average is flattening out. Take a look at your 50-day moving average. It is coiling up. And so what we do here is we find the highest daily close. You can either use a couple of options here. You can use this one here or this one here, either or. Find a daily closing high and anticipate that any breakout above that range is going to set a very powerful move. Why? Because it is the only way you can have the 50-day crossing above the 200-day moving average. It is also the only way the 200-day moving average can go from being flat to coiling higher. There's only one way this can happen, and it needs a lot of energy. In other words, it needs a lot of price movement, which is where and what we want. It needs this price movement so that we can have this chart showing a crossover, a bullish crossover between the 50 and the 200-day moving average. That's the main meat of this concept. Again, if you want more information, take a look at the playlist in the description of this video, and it will give you more details. So now you can see what Disney is setting up here. The other stock I talked about was American Airlines. You can see here a flattening out 200-day moving average, upward sloping 50-day moving average. The only way there can be a future crossover, there's only one way. There has to be an immediate and powerful, persistent move in price so that you can influence the 200-day moving average to coil up, and so that you can have this crossover. Now remember, I'm showing you this on the daily, but you can also use this on the weekly and other time frames. Let's take a look at the other chart just so you can look at it again. This is ZDGE. Take a look at this flattening out 200-day moving average. You have a squeezing 50-day moving average, and you can see what is taking place here already. We can see the possibility that this is already respecting that setup, and we are seeing prices already moving higher. So your buy point could have been when it cleared this area here at about 2.4, already gone as high as 2.8 in 2 days. So this is the power. And let me show you some examples here quickly. Take a look at COUR in 2023. There was a daily closing high here. You have a flattening out 200-day moving average. Hope you can see that. Flattening out 200-day moving average. You have an upward sloping 50-day moving average. Of course, you want to play the breakout, and this one was almost a gap and go. It breaks out, and take a look at this powerful move that ensues after that. A great swing trade. And notice also that that is the only way we get the 200-day moving average to coil up. 200-day moving average coils up. The 50-day moving average crosses above the 200-day moving average. The only way you can do that is a price expansion, and that is what we are looking for, is an expansion explosion in price. Now let me show you a different variation of the same concept. Here we have Coinbase. Now you'll notice here there was a flattening out 200-day moving average. We have an upward sloping 50-day moving average, and so you can play the breakout above this range here. You can take that breakout. So you can either take the early breakout here, or you can take the next breakout there. Either way, you got a little bit of a nice uptick here in Coinbase. But again, it sets up again. Notice here now we have a little bit of a variation of the same concept. You have the 50-day, which is the blue line, and then the green line is the 200-day. Both of them are going flat in this area. So they are all, in other words, the stock was here, came down, 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 and in other words, it settled down here, formed a very tight base. That's why you have the moving averages also going flat. This is quiet action right here. It's a very tight base. In fact, we can even go back to this area here. Nice tight base. And so when it clears this area here, what Coinbase is telling you is there's a possibility that the only way we can have an upward sloping 50-day moving average, the only way we can have an upward sloping 200-day moving average is by prices going through this massive price expansion. By the way, we had a breakout alert for Coinbase around this time period. So let me look for it. And yes, I can confirm here on November 15th of 2023. Again, for my paid clients, I sent out a breakout alert, and just so we can have the details of that breakout alert here, you can see is when it clears the monthly closing high at 98.61, that was the breakout level. Stock was trading at 99.70. So this is what the daily did, going on this massive run here. Now we also combine that with another method, and I'll show you on a weekly standpoint what it looks like here. This was a very desirable move here, and our entry was based, our most recent entry was based on the monthly breakout when it moved above this monthly range here. So from about 90, call it about 99, it went all the way to about 180, 183, almost an 80% gain in about 2 months there. But based on this method I'm talking about here, on the daily, you could have had this daily breakout based on the squeezing of the moving averages, and once you get this explosive price here, let's call it in the lower 80s, that was your entry there on its path to more than a double based on that Moade Virgin breakout method. Now I want to show you that it doesn't always work, and remember, there's no concept that cannot be influenced by other factors. Any setup is going to have its failures, and we can see here there was a breakout here by TLRY, and you can see it attempted to break out here, and all of these were attempts, but ultimately it failed. And once it failed, it means that the concept is not in play. The market doesn't favor that, and you can see this aggressive smackdown. So in other words, if the breakout fails, you have to be defensive and get out of the breakout. Remember what was taking place here. We had an upward sloping 50-day moving average. So 50-day moving average was squeezing higher. You have a flattening out 200-day moving average. This wasn't the best. Maybe that's why it didn't work, but it wasn't the best. Didn't work. But you'll notice again here, we try again. We have this flattening out 200-day moving average. We have an upward sloping 50-day moving average. It tried to break out yet again here, another breakout attempt, and in both instances you can see they both failed here, and this breakout ultimately failed. And once a breakout fails, this is a reminder that we have no business owning a position where a breakout has failed. We need to get out and find other plays, or at least reconsider. Let me show you 2 other chart examples here. ARBK, notice here recently we had again a daily closing high. We have a flattening out 200-day moving average. Hope you can see that. We have an upward sloping 50-day moving average here. And then of course the breakout is, you can either take this breakout here. You can take this breakout or this breakout. Either or, this breakout, this breakout. You have a couple options here for breakout entries, and that would have given you the opportunity to catch part of this big move. Almost more than a double. Keep in mind, that's the only way you can have a crossover between the 200-day moving average and the 50-day moving average. How about one more example? Or again, we got HUT. You'll notice here again a flattening out 200-day moving average. You have an upward sloping 50-day moving average. Take the highest daily close, use that as your breakout level, your pivot, and once you break out, you get a powerful swing trade that takes the stock from, let's call it about 11 all the way to about 22. Now this stock has split recently. The price was different, but anyway, so yeah, 100% gain here on a swing trade, holding it for a couple weeks to the upside based on the Moade Virgin breakout. As I said, you can use it for in other time frames. The weekly is also good when you use this concept. And if you want more information, take a look at the playlist. Otherwise, if you want my current breakout alerts, take a look at my website. And I wish you all the best. I am ericwithmoade.com. I leave you as I found you, in the love light of the one infinite creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one creator. Adonai.